welcome back again. Today we're going to talk about one of the more serious debates in our country today. It's the debate over abortion. Now, this goes back obviously to Roe v. Wade and the legalization of abortion. And for 50 years we've been fighting this, and we haven't resolved it. The ball has moved a little bit. I think the pro-life community has gained quite a bit of popularity in more recent years, especially in terms of, post-birth killing and late-term abortion and things like that. As a matter of fact, only 13% of the American public supports third trimester abortions. Now, if you listen to the media, you wouldn't know that. You would think that this was just overwhelmingly popular, but it's not. But let's look at a little bit of the history of it. The Supreme Court said it was legal. Now, even people who are pro-choice, pro-abortion, even a lot of those legal minds will admit, and they have publicly, that was probably one of the weakest Supreme Court decisions in history. There was no real constitutional basis for it. It was really creating a law without any precedent in the founding document. And that means that it's highly vulnerable, that legal scholars and justices on the Supreme Court would have a lot of reasons to reverse that decision as having been, quote, a bad decision legally. Not just a matter of what the subject matter is, but legally and constitutionally, it was a very questionable decision. It didn't cite the precedents, it didn't rely on the Constitution, it relied on the opinions of a few justices. Now, having given that background, my talking about it is highly offensive to a lot of people. The pro-abortion feminists particularly, and I cannot tell you how many times I have been told that as a man, I have no right, and they say that, no right to speak about this. They don't want to hear it from a man. No man should talk about this. This is a woman's issue, and it's a woman's body. To that, I say, bullcrap. As a matter of fact, unless somebody, skipped biology, that conception was half a man. So a man participated in that conception. And the other thing that's also noticed, if a child is retained by the mother, the father gets tapped for 18 years of child support. So, there is a little basis that men do have an interest. And I will say this, as a big moral issue, it can be debated by anybody who has a moral basis, who has a feeling about it, who has a belief about it. So excluding men from the conversation is just rude, and I'm not going to be excluded. Now, the other thing that we hear about in abortion is that it is a woman's body, and therefore it's of her choice what to do with her body. And that's how we hear it expressed all the time. It's her body, it's a woman's body, a woman's right. In fact, I will tell you, a fetus is not standard equipment in a woman's body. It is not. Some women never are pregnant. And as a matter of fact, one of the things that's interesting is that if a woman went to a doctor and said, "Doctor, I want you to take out my spleen or my liver or whatever," and the doctor says, "Well, I'll have to check out, see if there's something wrong. Well, what's your problem?" Oh, nothing's wrong, and no, it's fine. But I just want it out. I don't want it anymore. Oh, you're going to donate your kidney to? No, I'm not going to donate. I just don't want it. It is not only unethical, immoral, it is illegal for the doctor to perform such an operation because it's a healthy organ. But that organ is part of her body. She owns it. It is standard equipment. It came with her. And yet she cannot order it removed and destroyed. But the fetus, under our system, she can't. And I'm not sure that's entirely the way it should be. The big question is, when is life protectable? Now, I'm not religious enough to give you the religious answer to that. I don't come from this from a evangelical standpoint. I come to this from a logical, civilized standpoint. When does a civilized society protect human life? At what stage? Now, we do know, and matter of fact, I have to tell you, this is how I got to being pro-life, because I kept trying to think, at what stage, if today, in the second month or whatever, the 28th day, you pick a time, that child is now protectable by a civil society, the day before isn't much different. So what day does that happen? Where is the dramatic event where some piece of flesh becomes human? Well, the only event that occurred to me was conception. Because when that egg and that sperm meet, everything about a human being is there. Now, it's microscopic. It doesn't look like you and me. But the hair color is there. The height is there. The gender is there. The propensity to have a disease is there. The big ears or the small nose, it's all there. Every bit of that person is in that conceived event. So to me, that's a human being from the get-go. So when can we say that that individual can be cut off from life? Now, in the most disgusting way, there are a lot of people who think late-term abortion is okay. Going in there and finding something that does look like a baby and rip off its arms, rip off its head, put a thing through its brain, suck out its brain. I mean, this is the kind of thing you would expect when you read about history and the Mayan blood sports and the Mayan virgin offerings and all that. That's the kind of ugliness you would expect. It's one of the reasons that so many times they don't allow photographs of aborted fetuses to be shown, because it's so shocking to anybody who really looks at that. So I think what's going to happen is we will have Roe v. Wade overturned eventually. The trend is going in that way. The Alabama case, they think, may go to the Supreme Court. I don't know. It may not. But I think at some point, when you look at all of the facts about it, all of the biological realities, you have to sort of, come down on the side of life. That if you're going to make a mistake for life. Now, everybody says, well, what about the poor mother? She can't afford a child. Well, how about that poor father I talked about a minute ago? Maybe the woman wants to keep the baby and the father says, I don't want to be stuck I can't afford to be having child support for 18 years. You got to have an abortion. We don't do that. So the economic reality is not the important one and should never be. Because when we deal with life, we ought to be dealing with life. So I think it's going to get overturned someday. We're going to come to our senses. It'll look as a dark spot on our history, much like slavery did in the past. But I think that's the way it should be. And I hope that day comes sooner than later. So there it is.